Once in office, however, Mr. Macron faces possible fallout from the data dump, which his campaign says mixed real and phony documents, which the aim of, quote, swowing doubt and disinformation, end quote, for months. Mr. Macron had said his camp was being targeted by Russian government hackers. The Kremlin denied any involvement. The early results, based on samples of votes cast at hundreds of polling stations across France, could change as more ballots are counted, but surpassed pollsters' predictions that the pro-EU Mr. Macron would win by 60 to 40% over Mrs. Le Pen. The rise of both Mr. Macron and Miss Le Pen stems from a meltdown of political establishment that has ruled France for decades. No candidate from the country's main conservative or center-left party survived the first round of voting last month. Franciscus Hollande, the incumbent president, didn't run, and the candidate of his party captured just 6.4% of the first round vote. Mr. Hollande tapped Mr. Macron as a top aide in 2012, later promoted him to economy minister. Those parts have given him insight into policy making, but he provided scant experience on the short preliminary coalition buildings needed to pass difficult legislation of the type that will be needed to move ahead in the agenda. The projections Sunday indicate Ms. Le Pen still managed to pick up millions of supporters who back mainstream candidates in the first round. That breaks with the pattern in the past elections when big majorities overwhelmingly rallies against the National Front, tainted by xenophobia of Mrs. Le Pen's father and Jean-Marie Le Pen, who faced criticism for anti-Semitic rhetoric. The Sunday projections show Miss Le Pen nearly doubled the 17.8% of the vote her father won in 2002. The other previous occasions a National Front candidate reached the final round of a French presidential election. Miss Le Pen's success in broadcasting the National Front's base is a measure of how voters in France's rural and declining industrial areas have become skeptical of a project only a decade ago was only embraced as a recipe for ending centuries of conflict in Europe. The EU's goal of binding its member countries in an ever closer union has also placed many of its weaker economies in straitjacket. The sovereign debt crisis that sweeps the bloc's southern economies from Greece and Italy to Spain and Portugal has left the continent struggling to kickstart growth. In France, unemployment remains high as many companies have held back investment, hemmed in by rigid labor rules that make hiring and firing costly. Some manufacturers have left the country's industrial north in favor of cheaper labor in Eastern Europe. Well, I sure hate to hear that there's going to be a socialist, a leftist who's going to be running France. I mean, but whatever. That's the way the ball bounces. I really thought we had a lot of momentum with the populist movement. I thought nationalism was sweeping the world after the EU, the Brexit vote, and then Donald Trump won for president of the U.S. Yeah, I thought for sure that she was going to win. I was really rooting for her. I could never, ever root for anybody that was a former Rothschild banker. I'm sorry, but there's no way. See if we can find anything else here about the French election. Here's an article. It's from the BBC. French election. Macron defeats Le Pen to become president. Let's look through this and see if there's anything interesting other than what we just discussed. Here's a little something. President Franciscus Hollande congratulated Mr. Macron and said the results showed the French people wanted to unite around the, quote, values of the Republic, end quote. The BBC's Hugh Schofield in Paris says this is the most remarkable success story of how a man who 3 years ago was utterly unknown to the French public, through sheer self-brief energy and connections, forged a political movement that has trounced all the established French political parties. That's really sad, though, if you ask me, because he's going to open up all those borders. He's going to keep the Muslims coming in. Yeah, I really hate that for France, especially after all they've been through here in the past year or so. They've had several terrorist attacks. I heard that it was one of the worst places in the world to visit, because you just walk down the street and there would be like Muslims just defecating everywhere in the street and urinating, and yeah, I reckon it's become more of a third world kind of country. We'll be right back, folks. Got a little tune here for you. I'm sure that you'll enjoy. Be right back. Take a little break.
Blind me, there is one.
We're back. Hope y'all enjoyed that. That was Little Black Label Society, Stillborn, featuring Mr. Zach Wild. I really like Mr. Zach Wild. He's one of my favorites. He is bad to the bone. Unlike these liberal tards, hey, never in my 33 years on this earth have I ever had so many arguments, so many friends that won't talk to me no more. So much dumb stuff, man, from these little childish liberals. Like, what they don't even know what a liberal is, in my opinion. They are brainwashed. They have a mental disease. It's really a mental disorder. In fact, my YouTube page was attacked today by a supposed friend of mine, and he wouldn't even use his own Facebook. Like, he's got an alter ego that he uses of this character from, this particular movie, which must be his favorite movie, because he's got other Facebook accounts from characters from that same movie, and he, uses those accounts to, shoot people down that he don't agree with, and just, yeah, man, I could read you what he wrote on my YouTube page, but I won't go that far. That's a little bit too personal. You want to subscribe, check it out yourself. It's still there. I've since came back and cussed that feller till a fly wouldn't light on him, I would say. I'm pretty ticked off about it. People like that are not your